Hello, and welcome back for another adventure in the cookie jar. Today we are doing the 16th recipe from Plum Pudding Murder. They are chocolate oatmeal cookies. A very short recipe. It looks very quick. It doesn't look like it makes very much. So what we are first doing is preheating the oven to 325. You're going to want half a cup of softened butter, 1 stick, 1 cup of white sugar, 2 1-ounce squares unsweetened chocolate, 1 beaten egg, 1 teaspoon of baking powder, half a teaspoon of salt, 3/4 cup flour, and 1.5 cups dry oatmeal. Either quick cooking or old-fashioned will do. So it's essentially just mixing stuff and melting the butter, waiting for it to cool, adding that in, adding the rest. It does have an interesting little side note for these. It says, Nancy says these cookies are better if they are soft, so don't overbake them. If you store them in a cookie jar and they are getting too hard, use Grandma Ingrid's trick of adding an orange peel or a slice of apple to the cookie jar to soften them up. I have heard of putting like a loaf, like a slice of bread. I've never heard about orange peel or apple though. And I'm curious if that would have an effect on the flavor of the cookies if they stay in there for any period of time. It says it makes 3 dozen chewy chocolatey cookies. And then it actually has like an actual note. It says, if you don't have the squares of unsweetened chocolate in your pantry, you can substitute 3 tablespoons of cocoa and 1 tablespoon of vegetable shortening for each square of chocolate needed. Just blend in the shortening with the butter and add the cocoa with the flour. I actually think that's a really good handy note to have if you don't have those on hand. Like, that's a really good substitution. But everything's laid out. Let's get started. This is everything we need for these cookies. So I do things a little differently than the book does. The book says, but to start by mixing the butter and the sugar together and then melting your chocolate and then waiting for it to cool down before continuing. I melt my chocolate first just because it has time to cool while I do the butter and the sugar. But it just says by package directions. So I popped it in the microwave for 30 seconds, stirred it up, put it back in for another 30 and stirred it smooth. And that is just going to sit there and cool while we add the butter and the sugar to our mixer. We can get it all in. And just let those two blend. Now we're adding the chocolate. Try to add the chocolate. I'm gonna call that good. Let that blend together. To this, we're gonna add the egg, the baking powder, and the salt. Making a mess, making a mess. The flour. And lastly, the oatmeal. Get the bowl cleaned up. Now, we want cookie scoop. Just plop them down. Like I said, there wasn't very many ingredients to this, and the quantities were really little. It says it only makes 3 dozen. So this definitely is a small batched recipe. So if they are good, it's definitely something you would want to double unless you intentionally only want a couple. But they are scooping like a dream, I can tell you that. There is the first batch. I'm just gonna skip up the rest and we'll see how many we end up with. I have rolled them all out. There are 34, so there's just shy of 3 dozen. They will bake at 325 for 13 to 15 minutes, sit on the racks for 2, and then cool on wire racks until they're done. Here are the cookies baked. They are ready to be eaten. Okay, so. So, they're okay. There's nothing really in them that makes them stand out. The chocolate flavors could be stronger. It mostly just tastes like oatmeal with a little bit of chocolate at the end. Will they get eaten? Yes. Am I glad it didn't make too many? Also, yes. I feel like this is a very basic recipe that you could do your own thing with, because it just by itself, to me, doesn't seem like it really stands up to any of the other recipes that we've made. It is basically a very, very bland oatmeal cookie with a hint of chocolate. Like I said, could there be spices? Could you add vanilla? Yes, yes. This is just, it seems like a kickoff recipe to something else. It doesn't seem enough to me. But they were quick. They made an okay amount. Honestly, it's closer to like a granola bar than it is a cookie. But next week, we are doing chocolate raspberry truffles. I love chocolate and raspberry together, so I think these are going to be amazing. If you're interested in seeing that, join us next week. I hope you all have a good one. Bye.